So, good morning, students. We are in the last part of the Merchant of Venice. You must be very, very happy as it concludes. Okay, the hard work of your class 9 to class 10, it's coming to an end. And so, in the last concluding part, we wind up everything. There were so many main plots and so many subplots all coming to a, a beautiful ending in the last scene, last act 5, scene 1. And this Merchant of Venice may be regarded as consisting of several incidents all combined together, isn't it? So many. We have got the casket game, we have got the ring play, we have what is that, the love and friendship between Bassanio and Antonio. We have the story of elopement of Jessica and Lorenzo, and we have the Gobbo and his son. So many things. Okay, we have the masquerade party. So many things. So it is combined together, and we have the main story of Bassanio's quest for the hand of Portia, and the equally important action of Shylock's plot and its frustration. So these two are the main thing. How Bassanio went to woo Portia, and for which Antonio has to, at the cost of Antonio's life, even Bassanio goes to get the hand of Portia. And it may be better to think of these two as combined into the main plot. One is Bassanio's love for Portia, and the second one is Shylock's plot and its frustration. These can be combined as one main plot, and they are not really distinct, because it is for this cause, for Portia's sake, Bassanio had to go for the bond, the loan. And we have had the episode of Jessica and Lorenzo, you remember, which may or may not be called the subsidiary plot, the subplot, or the secondary plot, according to whether the reader likes to play with the terms after the manner of Lancelot Gobbo or not. Now, final episode has just commenced. The humorous situation created by the success of Portia and Nerissa in persuading their husbands to give away the rings. So you know how Portia was so adamant that if at all they have to give the token of love, it should be the ring from Bassanio. And Nerissa also is trying to persuade Graziano to give the ring to her. Now, but all these episodes, you must understand, these are underplots. They are in no way distinct and separating. These are all connected to the main plot. They are the limbs, you can call it as, this can be compared as limbs of the same body. And in the final act, this final act has the effect of closing the play, the drama as a whole, in an atmosphere of lightness, joy, happiness, mirth, except to the thinking man who wonders what has become of Shylock. So only some of the audience may feel sorry for Shylock, for his loneliness, for his desperateness. If not, the all other characters in the play at the end rejoice. There is a happy ending. But the finishing touches are put to the whole dramatic structure, and everything has tended towards the one end, the happy union of the lovers, and the humiliation and disgrace of Shylock. And you will find the dramatic unity is now completed with the final luster and beauty. It is attained by sheer lyric artistry. You will find the poetic verses of Shakespeare very well done in these lines. So starting with you will find Jessica and Lorenzo, how poetically they are bringing about the atmosphere of the serene night with the moonlight. And then that is the first part of this act 5. And there is only one scene in this act, as you know, and the opening 20 lines are full of images of romantic beauty. attained by classical allusions. You will find so many allusions like Troilus, we have Thisbe, we have Dido, and so many of these allusions are put together in order to create the beauty, the romantic beauty, that to the classical allusions. Okay, the Greek from the Greek mythological icons have been put by Shakespeare, and the readers should bear in mind the scarcity of movable scene. And at the time of Shakespeare, like today, there was no such stage arrangements with light arrangements, and you even remember how beautifully we could arrange for our annual day light and sound. But at the time of Shakespeare in 18th century, in 16th century, these things were not there. And you should know, in modern place we have beautiful scenic and lighting effects, but in his time there was nothing like this was at his disposal, and he was compelled to make his audience imagine a scene of idyllic moonlight beauty, and to do so he had the sheer charm of his poetry. And that is the explanation of the obvious care which Shakespeare has lavished on the imagery in the first 20 lines, whereon you will find Lorenzo and Jessica speaks beautiful lines with the Greek allusions. And the beautiful passage on the power of music which occurs later on the scene, that also shows the efforts which Shakespeare has made to secure harmony and aesthetic effect in his closing scene. And then shall we go with the text, children? It's little lengthy, at the same time beautiful lines. So come along with me, students. Please take your text and Act 5, Scene 1. We have it is in Belmont. Okay, we are already back from Venice, and we have Lorenzo and Jessica waiting for Portia and Nerissa to accomplish their task and come. And actually Lorenzo and Jessica is unaware of Portia's visit to Venice. They know they are in a monastery praying for their husbands to be back. And so we have Lorenzo and Jessica sharing beautiful romantic moments in the first 20 lines. Lorenzo: the moon shines bright in such a night as this, when the sweet wind did gently kiss the trees, and they did make no noise in such a night. Troilus, methinks, mounted the Trojan walls, and sighed his soul toward the Grecian tents, where Cressida lay that night. Now Lorenzo is bringing the beautiful imagery of a Cressida. Actually, Cressida's imagery is Cressida is brought here as an unfaithful wife. Okay, she is the icon of unfaithful love. At the same time, why Lorenzo brings it is to provoke Jessica in some or other way to test her love for him. So he says the moon shines bright in such a night as this. So he says the moon is so bright during this night, when the sweet wind did gently kiss the trees, and how the atmosphere is so very romantic, where the gentle breeze is kissing the trees, and they did make no noise, and there is no noise. It's so very calm and so very quiet, so very serene. In such a night, Troilus, methinks, mounted the Trojan walls. Who mounted the Trojan wall? Here, Troilus is actually the son of the king of Troy, and Cressida, they were lovers actually, and had exchanged vows of eternal fidelity. They had vowed to live together. However, what happens during the siege of Troy? Cressida was handed over to the Greeks in an exchange of prisoners. Now, she had vowed to remain constant, but what happens with her? She soon fell in love with the Diomed. And for a long time, every night, poor Troilus stood on the walls of Troy looking at the Greek camp. For what? in order to see, at least to have the glimpse of Cressida, his beloved. And what happened? Cressida forgot all about Troilus, and she fell in love with Diamond. So the icon of Cressida in Greek is for unfaithful love. Unfaithful love. And here, what is happening with Lorenzo? He is provoking Jessica for unfaithfulness. Was she unfaithful? Not at all. Even she disobeyed her own father. She robbed her own house and came with Lorenzo, her love. And here Lorenzo is provoking and accusing her of unfaithfulness. And to this Jessica says, in such a night did Thisbe fearfully overtrip the dew, and saw the lion's shadow ere himself, and ran dismayed away. Now she is bringing another Greek illusion. She courts whom? Thisbe. And who is this Thisbe here? And you should know, children, Thisbe is a Babylonian maiden. She and her lover Perimus were forbidden to meet by their parents. They were in love, but their parents disagreed to their love. And one day what happened? They arranged to meet in a forest, and Thisbe saw a lion and fled, leaving her cloak behind. So seeing the lion, she left her cloak and ran away. She hid herself, and Pyramus saw her blood-stained cloak, thought that Thisbe was dead, and killed himself. Thisbe returned and saw her lover's body and killed herself too. So one misunderstood seeing the blood on the cloak that his beloved, his darling is no more, and he killed himself. And when Thisbe returned, she saw her lover being killed, and so she also kills himself. So here when Lorenzo speaks about unfaithfulness, Jessica brings the icons of faithful love, who died, the symbols of faithful lovers. And now what happens? In such dismay, here what is the line you mark, children? And ran dismayed away. Dismayed away here means there this Pyramus and Thisbe, it was the favorite play of Shakespeare's time. And in the Midsummer Night's Dream also, Shakespeare presents a partial version of it to his audience. And here the dismay is all the confusion, okay, the confusion when they thought the other one was dead. Poor Thisbe also kills herself. Thisbe returned and discovered her lover's dead body and committed suicide. And to this what Lorenzo says, in such a night. See, every line starts with in such a night as this. Lorenzo begins with in such a night as this, and Jessica also begins with in such a night. This is called the poetical, the lyric artistry, okay, beauty, the poetic beauty of Shakespeare's verses. And Lorenzo says to this, in such a night stood Dido with the willow in her hand upon the wild sea banks, and wafted her love to come again to Carthage. Now who is this Dido? The story of the love of Aeneas and Dido is told by Virgil in Aeneid. Okay, this is also another Greek play. Aeneas was the great Trojan warrior who founded the city of Rome, and during his voyages he landed in Carthage. So you should know he was Aeneas was a Trojan warrior, and he was the one who founded the city of Rome. And then during his voyage, what happens? He landed in Carthage, where he gained the love of Queen Dido. So in Carthage he fell in love with Queen Dido. And what happens after several months of dealings with her? So he stayed with her, loved her for a few months, and then he sailed back, left her broken hearted. So Dido was left with all kinds of desperation by Aeneas as he left her and went away. So she remained broken hearted. After a short period of extreme grief, Dido, killed herself. Now Shakespeare says that it must have been on a beautiful full moon night, like the present, okay, like how Lorenzo and Jessica are standing in that beautiful night, that Dido walked sadly by the shore of the wild sea with the willow in her hand, the symbol of deserted love, and vainly she beckoned or wafted to Aeneas to come back to Carthage. Now, it is possible that Shakespeare found this description in the house of fame of Chaucer, who derived it there directly from Virgil. Virgil is a Greek writer. So now we come to know each one is playing with the words, with the mythological terms taken from the stories or the myths of the Greek. And to this Jessica says, in such a night, Medea gathered the enchanted herbs that did renew old in Aeson. Now you have heard about Medea and Jason and all in the previous chapters, isn't it? We have already heard it, the classical hero of Jason, maybe in the scene, I don't remember the previous scenes. And Medea was his wife. The wife of Jason. And she is said to have experimented in enchantment. She gathered some herbs of magical properties by night and administered them to her aged father-in-law, Aeson, to give an effort to restore his youth. And it is the belief of the superstitious Elizabethans that certain herbs and plants had magic properties, and if gathered by night. So in here they are quoting that night where Jason's wife Medea went to collect the herbs in order to restore youthfulness to her father-in-law. To this Lorenzo says, in such a night did Jessica steal from the wealthy Jew, and with an unthrift love did run from Venice as far as Belmont. Now Lorenzo is coming back to Jessica, telling it was in such a moonlight Jessica, the infidel who stole all the wealth of her father the Jew at night, and came and ran, eloped with Lorenzo from Venice to Belmont. To this Jessica says, in such a night did young Lorenzo swear he loved her well, stealing her soul with many vows of faith, and never a true one. Now she is also accusing him, saying it was in such a night, in a moonlight, that Lorenzo also vowed his love to Jessica, but it was not a true one. And thrift love means careless devotion, lovers without money. And now to this Lorenzo says, in such a night did pretty Jessica, like a little shrew, slander her love, and he gave it her. Stealing her here, did pretty Jessica like a little shrew. What is little shrew, children? Shrew means bad-tempered woman. Now he is accusing her of her bad temper, slander her love, harm by making a false statement. Okay, slander her love, making a false statement, expressed her love, and he forgave it her, and Lorenzo forgave it to her. To this Jessica says, I would outnight you, did nobody come, but hark, I hear the footing of a man. Now what is she telling? Outnight you means beat you in this game of making speeches about knights. I can defeat you for such speeches about the Knight, you don't think that you are well versed with the speeches of knight, but I can defeat you with my own words as well. But she says, hark, I hear the footing of men. She says, if no one is here to disturb us, I would have defeated you with such verses. But here comes someone, I hear the footing of a man. I think, students, now we have the entry of Stefano, who announces about the coming of Portia to Belmont, and then we have the proceedings. So for today, have a nice day, children. We call it a day. Take good rest, but at the same time, do your lessons well. All the best. God bless you.